Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, divorce support for dads, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I'm your host. I created this podcast in the Divorced Advocate community as a result of my own high conflict divorce, and because you as a dad deserve all the resources necessary to thrive through this challenging time. I encourage you to check out our website at thedivorcedadvocate.com, where there are resources that correspond to this episode, as well as free access to our membership community, where you will find live meetings, free workshops and courses, private discussion groups, and more. And now, on to this week's episode.
Hello and welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here. And today we've got an interesting topic, and let's just dive right into it. It is the 24 dating tips for life after divorce. And this is by no means a definitive list, but definitely some really good, fairly comprehensive 24 dating tips. And let's start off with the first one here, which is reflect on what went wrong the first time. Now, you guys hear me talk about this all of the time, which is pay attention to what it was that you brought to the equation, to the marriage, to the relational dynamic that was going on, and what your part was in that relational dynamic that potentially contributed to its demise. I recommend often Sean Smith's book for men called The Tactical Guide to Women. In the one for women that he wrote, which is a companion or an alternative, is The Practical Guide to Men. In both of those books, about the first half of what he talks about is taking time to get to know and understand who you are, what your values are, et cetera, and what you want. And so this goes exactly to what this first tip is reflecting on what went wrong the first time. Now, these two books I highly recommend for anybody dating, but particularly for those of us that are jumping back in it after, that did not understand kind of our parts or the relational dynamics or any of what went on. And the challenge here is that you all know and you've all met, and I resemble this description, the person that jumped back into a relationship and right after divorce and then perpetuated the same thing. Now, listen, if you've done that, no shame. It's okay. It's much easier to see looking at from the outside in, because we just don't know what we don't know. But really, pay attention, take the time to learn and understand. Therapy and coaching is incredibly helpful to address what went wrong the first time and understand what that relational dynamic was, what your part in that equation was, and possibly what you can do to repair or remedy any of that and show up as a different and better person this time around. Number 2, let go of your anger. Now, I just want to preface this by saying there is nothing wrong with anger. Actually, anger is an awesome opportunity, an awesome tool for growth if it is utilized in the proper manner. So there's that fallacy out there. There's this kind of social stigmatization around anger that's, we hear it with toxic masculinity, or she's angry, or she's got anger issues, or whatever it might be. But anger as an emotion or feeling is no different than any other emotion or feeling. What we do with that anger is incredibly important. Now, what I will say is, if you are having feelings of anger, that is potentially, not always, but potentially, and usually, at least in the context of divorce or post-divorce, an indication that you may be going through the grieving process, because anger is one of the steps in the grieving process, one of the 5 steps. And the 5 steps don't show up literally in a linear fashion. All right, you just have to excuse me this week. I'm just getting over a little bit of a sickness and a cold, and you can probably hear it in my voice. It's a little bit growly, a little bit raspy, and so I'm having a little bit of trouble here. So I'm going to fight through it. If you'll just with your ears fight through it a little bit with me, I apologize, but not much you can do. I've got my tea here. I'm sipping that as we go with a little bit of honey to get my voice through these 24 tips. But bear with me. So back to the anger. Going through those steps, they're not going to be done in a linear fashion, the steps of grieving. So anger might show up first and foremost. And so that's why I say, if you're feeling anger, start looking at the steps of grief and see what those are and where anger fits into those, and then start working through those steps. You're going to find that that's going to be a very healing process. Another book that I highly recommend for men and women is called Rebuilding When Your Relationship Ends, by Dr. Bruce Fisher. It's an excellent resource, and there's a whole step, a building block in there about anger, and there's also a whole nother building block in there about grief. So check that book out. Is a great resource. The number 3 dating tip for life after divorce is take it slow. I mentioned that person that that jumps into a relationship right after or during. Again, I was guilty of this, but we also know the person that jumps in and 6 months later is remarried again, and this person is the person that that was the opposite of the person that they were married to, and they couldn't believe that they found this person so quickly, etc., blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then fast forward 6 months or maybe 2 years or 3 years, and they're divorced again. It is just a statistical fact that the divorce rate the second time around is significantly higher than in second marriages. So the second time around, significantly higher than first marriages. It's something like 10 to 25% higher, which puts it in the 60 to 75% range. So take it slowly. And that is largely due to the fact that people don't take it slow, don't take it slow, and then don't do what we said in number 1, which is understand what went wrong the first time and understand what your part in that is. So take it slow. Number 4, don't write off the opposite sex entirely. Okay, this kind of falls in line with the anger part of it, but if you are still harboring ill will and feelings towards the opposite sex, then just take your time and wait until you've worked through that. There is an underlying something that's going on, and for you, it might, who knows what it could be. But if you have if you're writing off the opposite sex, and we hear this with, well, where are all the good men, or where are all the good women, and blah, blah, blah. There are a lot of good men. There are a lot of good women that are out there. So writing off the opposite sex entirely is just not healthy. So if those are words that you hear coming out of your mouth, if those are feelings or sentiments that you have and when you're talking with your friends, then that's just a sign that you just need to take a little bit of time, talk about it in your therapy, talk about it with your coach, and get to a point where you feel comfortable with the opposite sex. Number 5, don't go buck wild. Excuse me. That is just meaning take things in moderation. Now, I recognize the fact that you may have had some challenges in your relationship during your marriage, and this seems like an opportunity for you to just fill up your life with all of the things that you may have missed during that relationship. Well, again, it's kind of like, I don't know if you fast. I fast regularly. And if you're coming off a fast, the last thing that you want to do is eat and gorge yourself right off your fast, because your body is absolutely going to be pissed at you, and it's going to just make you sick. Do not go buck wild. The same applies for whatever part of dating after divorce you are missing that you enjoy in your dating life again, that take it in moderation. Do not go crazy. Again, balance. Tip number 6, partake in your favorite social hobbies and find some new ones too. Now, this is very common, I feel, for I would say a little bit more for men than it is for women, but just men and women in general too, because some of the things that we are most passionate or interested in when before we get married, we have kids, we get involved in life, and then we kind of lose some of the things that we were interested in. And some of those things that we were interested in, that we were passionate about, were things that were very attractive to our ex now, but at that time, potential spouse, that they like, that we may have fallen away from. So when I'm coaching my clients, one of the things I talk about first in getting back to their life 2.0 is, what are some things that you really enjoy doing that you have not done for a long time, or you did prior to being married? And if they don't have any, or they can't think of any, then the second point is, try some new ones. What is something that you really always thought that you may have wanted to do that seems like it would be just something fun? And again, it's just recapturing some of that fun and interest and passion that you had for life prior to getting married, prior to having kids, prior to having, a more robust, let's put it that way, a robust schedule and commitments going on in your life. So take some time and think about that. Again, chat with your therapist, chat with your coach, come up with a list of those things, and then see which ones you can work into to your schedule. Like I used to love the golf. I do it 3 or 4 times a week. It just is not feasible for me to carve out 5 hours in a week, or 2 or 3 times a week, maybe once a week, but not even that, 5 hours to do a round of golf. So that's just not feasible for me anymore, right? I look forward to that maybe in retirement, or not even retirement, but just post kids. But right now that's not feasible. So that's an example of one that's not going to come back into my life anytime soon. But there are other things that are different or smaller or less commitments, or tennis was one of them that I started to play again, that I played in high school, that does not take as much time. You can go and you can play for an hour or a couple hours somewhere with somebody or with a group, and it was really quick and easy for me to pick up again. So, and those are just 2 athletic examples. It could be music, it could be something creative, it could be, who knows, whatever it is, but find something that was a social hobby that you liked, or find a new one and get involved in it again. Now, tip number 7, have fun with friends. Re-engage with friends, re-engage with church or community, or with the people in which those hobbies or those social hobbies I just spoke about. Get involved with them. The part of us that's that we may have lost during our relationship, that we were that we just got so busy with family and our marriage and our relationship, we may have fallen out of touch with people. We may have let our community, or the communities that we had built up around us prior to that, just kind of fall by the wayside. So get back involved with friends and community. Tip number 8. Try online dating. Okay, so I say this, but I say this in the sense that try it as part of your dating regimen, not your only dating regimen. Try online dating. Online dating is just a fact of the world now. And if you're an old folk like I am, it was not around when I was dating before my marriage. So, but it is now, and it's very common. And there's even some studies that show that people who meet online have a higher probability for success in their second marriage if they met online. So I just read this. I don't know all the details about it, but again, if it's part of the reality, so you're opening yourself up to a whole opportunity, and maybe we'll do a show here on the future as to the benefits of online dating, and then the detriments of online datings. And the next one we're going to talk about, tip number 9, is beware online dating scammers, liars, and losers. And this is both sides. This is both sides, and it is just part and parcel of social media, online scamming, etc. Somebody had even taken my photos from my Facebook, which has been shut down for years, and was catfishing and had a dating profile somewhere in Arizona using a completely different alias, or using an alias and my pictures, etc. And it was totally crazy. So there's all kinds of crazy shit out there. Just be aware of this. And if you've got a friend or you know somebody that has done some online dating, that has been successful with some online dating, definitely chat with them, because it can be very frustrating. It can be very difficult, and it can be a huge, huge time waster, because you just get involved on the platform and are just constantly on it, which is obviously unhealthy, just like any social media platform. The second is, there are a lot of people out there wasting your time. There are a lot of men, there are a lot of women that are out there wasting your time. And that's not even to factor in the scammers or the prostitutes or anybody else that's on there that is just not legitimately looking for dating or some companionship or relationship, or just to be able to meet some other people. So definitely get educated, but put that as part of your dating routine, because it's a huge opportunity. Tip number 10, never complain about your ex on dates. That is an absolute red flag, particularly early on. If you want to have some conversations, and I think a good conversation and a good question up front is, tell me what happened with your last relationship. And for those of us that were are newly divorced, then that gives you an opportunity to portray and talk through in a healthy manner what happened with your relationship. But definitely do not complain or badmouth your ex. If you find yourself doing that, then that is a red flag for you to pay attention to bring to your therapist or your coach, or both, to understand why it is you have those feelings and those sentiments around your ex. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have feelings or sentiments like this about your ex. You can, and it's healthy, but it is only healthy if you're doing something with them that is beneficial and positive in your life, which means processing those and utilizing the processing of those to heal and to understand yourself and to bring that into the new relationship. So do not complain about your ex on dates. And if you know, I'm just going to add, this is not one of them, but I'll just add on to that. If somebody that you are dating or you've met or just met is complaining about their ex, then that's definitely a red flag. So just be aware of that. Tip number 11, be honest and open. Okay, I think we've talked about this one before, pretty sure. If not, we've mentioned it maybe in the Dad's Dating After Divorce podcast with Ralph, the sister podcast that you guys have heard. But be honest and open. Now, this means across the board. This means with not just, do you have kids or do you not have kids? Are you or are you not divorced? Okay. You might think I'm crazy saying that. Are you divorced yet? Or are you married yet? Are you still married, etc.? I'll tell you what, there are a lot of people out there that are going to lie to you. It's happened to me. It's happened to many of the people that I know. So being honest and open about if you are divorced yet or not, if you're still married or not, what the arrangement is in your relationship. It seems very straightforward, but I've got to say it. Also, be honest about if you have kids or if you don't have kids, if you want to have kids, depending on what your age is or what your circumstances. Be honest with what you are looking for. Maybe you are just getting back in the game and you just want some companionship. You just want to have some attention from the opposite sex so that you can feel good about being in relation with somebody. Again, be honest about that. You're going to be incredibly surprised by the number of people that go, oh, yes, me too. That is great. Now, that doesn't always mean that that's true, because there's people that are going to lie to you too. And then there's going to be narcissists that are going to tell you what they want, what they think you want to hear, so that they can get whatever they want to get. But anyway, that's another podcast as well. Reference one of the previous podcasts on narcissism. Anyway, just make sure to be open and honest about everything throughout the process. And that's also includes your feelings. If you're feeling uncomfortable, or if you're feeling worried, or don't ghost people. That's the thing. Oh, the ghosting thing pisses me off. It is so easy these days, and it's so immature, and it lacks such integrity and maturity that it's absolutely ridiculous. It's something that, I mean, even my teen daughters, I talk to them about this. Like, this is not something that you do is in the course of being a normal person that really cares about communicating with human beings. So don't ghost. Just be open and honest. I'm uncomfortable, or I'm just not ready, or whatever it is. Just be open and honest about everything while you're going through this, because you're going to appreciate that the other person, or you would appreciate, and you want the other person to be open and honest as well. Tip number 12, go on out of the box dates. I love this one.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Jude with a quick reminder about the Divorced Advocate Foundation for Fathers, which is our nonprofit that helps dads through divorce with legal education, free or reduced cost coaching, and mental health resources. If you own a business or know someone who does, there's an easy way to help by connecting credit card processing through our partner program. Part of the fees go straight to the foundation with no added cost to the business, and 98% of businesses are actually able to save money on their processing fees. It's a win-win. So if you know a business that accepts credit cards, get them in touch with me by sending a warm introduction email to jude@thedivorcedadvocate.com, or give me a call directly at 720-255-1021.
Because, and particular for you guys listening here that are planning dates, or if you're not planning dates, you should be planning dates. Find some out of the box dates and fun and interesting things to do. Doesn't have to be expensive, doesn't have to be dinner. It can be something that is very cool and unique. This might go back to one of your social hobbies, something that you're interested in, and you can invite somebody to go do with you. But find stuff that is out of the box. It is going to help in lots of different ways. For guys that are planning, it's going to show that you're unique, because listen, there's a million other dudes out there that are just trying to date, and trying to date probably the person that you're trying to date. So if you got somebody you're pretty interested in, being a little bit different is probably going to work in your favor. So if you do something out of the box, if you make a little more effort, that is going to be really incredibly helpful. And the same applies for the ladies listening as well. That makes you stand out from all of the other women that we're going on dates with, because you are more interesting and unique, and maybe a little bit mysterious, because the date is out of the box. So do stuff that is out of the box. Tip number 13, trust your instincts. You can call it gut, your feelings, etc. Just trust. And I would say this particularly goes to if you are man, and I learned this the hard way. I talked about dating people who are not open or honest about their intentions, or about their relational status, or a myriad of other things that I could tell you some war stories about. But by and large, and almost to a T, every single one of them, in reflecting back on them, there was some instinct, some feeling I had that may have either showed up in my body, or I thought about in my head and was like, but did not pay attention to it, that was indicating to me that something was off. So trust your feelings. And if you need clarification, ask. It doesn't mean you're going to get an honest answer, but at least it's going to give you maybe some understanding. If they are being honest, they should be able to talk with you about it. But if they're not being honest, and unless they're a phenomenal liar, and there are some really good ones out there, it might be you might be able to understand, or at least, I don't want to say expose, but I guess expose is the best word to use. Expose some of what you're not comfortable with, and understanding what it is that's what they're doing, what they're trying to do, or what they might be pulling over on you. Okay, tip number 14. And let's see, we're halfway, just past, a little more than halfway past through. We're talking about the 24 dating tips for life after divorce. Again, not a definitive list, but a pretty comprehensive list. Some really good ones to think about off of the bat and pay attention to. Number 14, try dating outside your norm, like trying a new restaurant, right? We kind of get our favorites, and we get we have our favorite meals at our favorite restaurants, and then we don't mix it up. It's good to try new things. So if you have a quote unquote type, maybe try a different type. I know that, and I'm not going to be real specific here, but I know there was one point where I said, for man, and it's sad. I did it for like a whole year. That's how long I've been dating after divorce, right? That I was able to spend a whole year dating a different type of woman, totally, that was completely different than the type that I was used to, or I would say that I was most attracted to, in order to for me, it was just, so it was born somewhat out of frustration and somewhat out of experimentation. So you're welcome on that experimentation point of it, but it was a learning experience to know and understand what a different type may mean, or just what is out there and what different types of people bring to the table. So date outside of your norm, because you just don't know what's going to happen. You might be surprised, and we get into habits, we get into routines just because we're human. And so it's just our conscious awareness that helps us to break out of those. And this is one of them, where you can consciously say, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to date outside my norm. I'm going to eat at a new restaurant and try a new dish. Okay. And then on that conscious awareness, pick 3 characteristics you want in a partner and stick to them. This goes back to number 1, when I was talking about Sean Smith's books, The Practical Guide to Men and The Tactical Guide to Women. He talks about this and putting together your values and your beliefs, knowing what those are. And so, these characteristics are important, because what happens is we get into the dating pool. And I know for me, it was like, oh my God, it's a smorgasbord. There's, especially you go online, and I can date women from literally, you could date women from literally all over the world, right? I mean, and that doesn't mean that you have to go all over the world, but like, there's women, different types of women here, and the online dating sites break them down by ethnicity and color and hair and and religious status, all kinds of different, like, you can go absolutely crazy. And it's like, oh my God. So you got to get really clear on and pick some, and I'm saying here 3 characteristics. Okay. So that is more specific to like values and beliefs, but you can even go further into that, that you may or may not want to have more kids, or you may have an age range that you're comfortable with. Although I would be careful with that. You could also get into religious status, religion, and spirituality, and sharing a faith for me is incredibly important. So that was one as well. So just get real clear. And so I'm just going to make that more general, other than 3 characteristics. Just get real clear with what you want, because dating for us as parents is much more complicated and time consuming than it was before. So if you get real clear, you're not going to waste a lot of time. Number 16, keep your sense of humor and seek someone with a good one. Man, there's nothing better than somebody with a sense of humor, somebody that you can laugh with. It is just, and particularly after going through something as heavy and difficult and challenging as we have through divorce, finding somebody with a good sense of humor is just a godsend. So if you can laugh with the person, it is a really fun thing to do. I don't think I got to say anything else about that. I accept that it just cracks me up, the dating profiles that will say love to laugh. Like, who doesn't love to laugh, right? So if it said don't like to laugh, then maybe that's a red flag. I don't know. Anyway, just that's an easy one. So find someone with a sense of humor.
To hear the rest of this episode and access the corresponding resources, visit thedivorcedadvocate.com and become a member of our community. It's free to join and will provide you with the resources you deserve as a divorced or divorcing dad. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll talk with you next week.